All right, here's a little division problem. It's pretty simple. This is about as easy as they get, I think, on this particular type of division problem. Do you remember the division we did before with that 4RS stuff? That was a monomial, wasn't it? Okay, 4RS. Even though there's three things, there was no addition or subtraction in between them. It was a monomial. So that's the easiest division that you're going to do. This is a little bit tougher, but it's the easiest of these type. Look at the denominator. Is it a monomial this time? Is it? Yeah, the bottom. It's a binomial. It's separated by a minus sign. Okay? Binomials are separated, or polynomials are separated by a plus or a minus. So this is two terms. This first term is x, and the second term is 5, and it's separated by a minus. Okay, so it's a binomial. When you divide by a binomial or a trinomial, you're going to have to do this long division method. I'll show you another way. I don't know if we'll have time today, but I'll show you another way called synthetic division. Makes things a little bit easier, but I have to show you this first before I show you synthetic, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to set up a long division problem, just like we did. Now what did Ms. Borgness tell us? Box top. The top goes in the box, okay? So I've got x squared plus 3x minus 40. And then the bottom goes out here on the outside. Now watch. I'm using this as a guide, right? So follow the same steps. What did we do? We took the thing that's on the outside and we said, how many times does 8 go into 70, correct? On this one, it's a little bit different, a little bit. It's not going to be exactly the same. I don't look at the 5 right now. I just look at the x. How many times does x go into or divide into x squared? How many times does x divide into x squared? Not twice. No, not once. Look, what's this division? Isn't that the same thing as going x squared divided by x? It's kind of like going 70 divided by 8, isn't it? Is what we did up here when we said how many times does 8 go into 70? Isn't that the same kind of thing as saying 70 divided by 8? Well, it's the same thing here. X squared divided by x. What is x squared divided by x? We did a whole bunch of those just a few minutes. It's x, isn't it? All right, it doesn't go one time. It doesn't go two times. It goes what? X times. You see it? Because one of these cancels out with this, right? X times. How many times does x divide into x squared? X times. Where do we put that? On top. That's right, just like we did up here. How many times does 8 go into 70? 8 times. Where do we put it? Boom, right up top. You follow the pattern that we've done so far? Okay. Now, what did we do up here? We put that on top. Then what did we do with this 8 on the top? We went 8 times this 8 right here. Okay, we multiplied those two together. So what do you think we're going to do to this and this? Multiply them together. After we multiply them together, you got 64. What'd you do with that 64? You subtracted it. Watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a subtraction right off the bat. And I'm going to even put a parentheses because this is not just being multiplied by x. What's this whole outside? It's x minus 5. So I have to take this x and multiply it by what? X minus 5. I got to distribute, right? So it's going to be x squared and then what? Minus 5x. Do you see that? It's a little more complicated than this, but basically what is the step up here? It's just 8 times 8 is 64, correct? What is this step right here? It's x times x minus 5 is x squared minus 5x. But we have to subtract it, don't we? So let's do the subtraction. Up here we just went 70 minus 64 is 6. Right here, though, the subtraction is a little more complicated. We got to go x squared minus x squared. What happens to that? That's 0, isn't it? It just cancels out. Look at this. This is 3. It's not just 3 minus 5. What is it? It's 3 minus negative 5. What's 3 minus a negative 5? It's 3 plus 5, which is 8x. Okay? Do you see how we're still following the same basic pattern? It's a little more complicated, obviously, because it's algebra. Right? And there's variables, there's exponents, so you know it's going to be a little more complicated. Now, what do we do over here? I subtracted, I got a 6. Did I just leave it 6? No. I looked up here and I dropped down the next number. So what do I do here? I take this and drop that down. Make sure that you apply the sign. So, Ryan, you said it, negative 40, right? And now, look, we dropped this down and you just repeated the same process, didn't you? You said, how many times does 8 go into 60, right? Over here, though, we don't look at the x minus 5 as a whole for this part of it. We just look at the x. How many times does x divide into 8x? Come over here off to the side. How many times does x divide into 8x? 8 times, right, because this x cancels with this x. What are you left with? An 8. You see that? So how many times does 8 go into 8x? 8 times. What do you do with that? What do we do with this? We said, how many times does 8 go into 60? You said 7 times, so you stick it up top, right? How many times does x go into 8x? 8 times, you stick it on top. It's a positive, so we put a plus 8. See, it's very similar to what we did over here, isn't it? Now, what do we do once we stuck that 7 on the top over here? We went 7 times 8 is 56, put it here, subtract it. What are we going to do here? Take 8 times x minus 5 and subtract it, correct? So let's do that. Make sure you distribute it through both of these, though, not just multiply by the x. So it's 8x minus 40. Good. All right, and let's actually do the subtraction. What's 8x minus 8x? 0. What's negative 40 minus a negative? What's minus a negative? Minus a negative is plus, right? So negative 40 plus 40 is what? 0. So we don't have a remainder here, do we? Okay. If we did have a remainder, what would we do with that remainder? We'd put it over x minus 5, okay? A lot of times you will have remainders, okay? On this one you don't. So you put that over x minus 5. And what's your answer? Your answer is just this right here. So what's this equal to? This is equal to x plus 8. If you want to check it, you know what you could do? You could multiply this by this and see if it equals the top. All right? If you wanted to do that, feel free to do that and see if it works. That's how you do it. That's probably about the easiest type that you're going to have, but every one of these I gave you are just like this except for number 10. Number 10 is a little trickier. Let me see. Yep, every one of these that I gave you. So 5 through 9 are just like what we did right here. Number 10 is a little trickier. You may want to hold up on number 10, and I might have to show you that on tomorrow. All right? Okay, that's it.